Fighting games are my bread and butter. My bacon and beans, my bong and bussy. But sometimes you want to drop all the mystical shit. Sometimes you want to abandon the chi, the science, the ancient curses, whatever the fuck is going on with the maids in Melty Blood, and embrace realism. Today we're going to be looking at a few combat sports games and see if they can provide our combo rotted brains with some of that sweet, sweet dopamine. I've selected a few for the PlayStation 2 because I am in fact still stuck in the early 2000s. For the record, wrestling is my shit. Other sports, I have no fucking clue about. I don't know what the offside rule is. I don't know how chucking the football in American football, how that fucking works out. 3-point shot, what the fuck is that shit? I watched a Pride MMA DVD one time, but other than that, I stick to my beloved big sweaty men. Pretty gay, but you know, I'm on board with that kind of shit. We'll be looking at the various modes, the gameplay, the creator character features, and most importantly, whether I can actually win a fucking match. With that all said, I am Mr. Double Digits, the king of unsolicited dick pics, and this is a bunch of combat sport games. Okay. Fight Night Round 3. I've selected the most recent boxing game on the PS2 for this video. And for the record, I've played Fight Night Champion in the past, and if I remember correctly, that game was fucking awesome. This one? Well, it's kind of fucking awful. In this Burger King sponsored Fist Fest, we play as Boxer First Last in career mode, because I spent time making a fucking specimen create a boxer mode, only to find out you can't port them into career mode. What the shit? Why the fuck can't I do that? And the worst thing is, this is in modern combat sports games as well, because I tried this shit in UFC 5 and I had to remake the fucking character. Bullshit. That was 10 minutes of my time, fucking wasted. As I start it, I'm expecting some kind of cutscene with our trainer or something like that. Nah, no story to this. You're a boxer, have fun. This could be great for some folk, but shit, give us some sauce. Anything would have been nice. This is the usual deal of EA sports games in which we sign a contract, select our opponent, go through a brief training regimen, and then spam basic attacks until we win our fight. Punches in this game are controlled via the analog stick with different motion inputs throwing out various strikes. I'm mixed on this. It makes comboing from jabs into other punches a little more difficult. Holding L1 allows us to slip and dodge punches, which worked decently against Scrub McGee, but then I decided to fight Manny Pacquiao, and it went as well as it could be fucking imagined. In between rounds, there is an injury healing minigame. I quite like these, they're quite funny. We also have what's known as the ESPN Classic mode, where you can fight through some famous rivalries in boxing history. Sadly, it's kind of limited because, my god, the roster. Usually with these kind of games, the roster is fucking huge because it's basically just model swaps. No 1,000 different moves for each character, just the same basic styles with a change in stats. In this case, there's like 4 heavyweights. What the fuck happened here? I assume it's something to do with there being like 60 different boxing promotions out there with 80 different fucking belts, but man, this shit is pathetic. Graphics wise, it's a half-assed PS2 game. At this point, the 360 and the PS3 were out, so I assume that they threw the B team on this and gave them 2 months and a 6-piece McNugget meal to actually work on this. Like, it's not the ugliest game I've ever seen, but it's far from the prettiest. I never really understood this. There's games in this video from years prior that look far better, so you couldn't have just put the effort forth. Overall, I found the gameplay to be fairly sluggish. I get that it's a boxing simulator, but man, it feels like I'm punching underwater. And I feel like it's going to be far smoother on the next gen variant. Maybe if I spent more time with it, I'd find some way to abuse the system and start scoring some true knockouts, or not throw fists like a fucking muppet, but the game really hasn't sunk its claws into me. I feel no desire to play any longer. We give this win to Steve Fox because he's way more fun to have a go with. Oh well, I guess I'll just move on to the next game. Also, fuck this game for not letting me play as the Burger King. Why would I want him as a trainer? I want to throw some fucking goddamn Whoppers out there. Give me the fucking option, game. Next time, next boxing game that comes out, give me the Burger King. I demand it. K1 is a kickboxing organization popular enough to have releases from 1996 to 2007, with their final release being on the DS of all things. We're going to ignore that one and focus on K1 2006 for the PlayStation 2. I'll start off by admitting this game is fucking excellent. It's got that bring 'em and swing 'em arcade feel, an easy pick up and play kind of deal. Each button is tied to a limb, Tekken style. Holding L1 blocks and holding L2 allows for dodges. Holding the analog stick up, down or forward as you strike alters what part of the person you will aim for. I personally recommend leg kicks as they continue to be fucking hilarious. Create a character mode is unfortunately a letdown, relying more on templates for faces and bodies rather than allowing us to create abominations, which is really what create a character modes are for. You want to create the most fucked up looking specimen you can. And this is a letdown. This is the best I could do. I gave career mode a try and I think there is a story. I don't know, there's a whole visual novel thing going down. I don't speak Japanese, but my fists are bilingual, which allowed me to unleash fucking punishment upon this goon. Don't fuck with me, brother. And then he leg kicked me into a fucking wheelchair. We have no training minigames throughout, which is somewhat disappointing despite the fact they usually suck. You know, little variations always nice, lads, but this allowed them to focus 100% on the main gameplay, which is fucking fun. So I highly recommend this one. All that's left to check is the roster and see what I got here, and just Bob fucking Sapp's in the game? The Steroid King? For those unaware, Bob Sapp is one of the least skilled martial artists to ever stomp into the ring, but he remained successful because fucking look at him. He's huge. He didn't even train. He just went in there and threw hammers. He looks like an inflated human. Now I fucking love Bob Sapp because he's shit, but he's got such a great personality. And getting to play him in this arcade gameplay gives it a certain sereneness to it. I could hear classical music flowing through my brainstem as I just crumbled people into the fucking floor. I actually ended up spending a couple of hours playing 2005 after recording because I was enjoying it so much. The presentation is brilliant for this one. It's got the whole Cyber Tekken 4 kind of deal going. And I have a suspicion while it looks blurry on modern monitors, if I looked at this on CRT, it's gonna look brilliant. Both games are worth a go. Highly recommend both of these. Partly just to play as the king of the meat. I've already done a full video on the other Pride game. This is the THQ Release Worldwide version. And it's a lot better, but it's not really saying much. I will immediately criticize the lack of modes. You've got Exhibition mode, Survival mode, Grand Prix mode. That's it. No career mode, no nothing. Create a character mode is also a waste of time. You can do sweet fuck all with it. My emulator also apparently doesn't like this game because I can't see what the fucking options are. Look at this, they're all blank. Nonetheless, I made Mr. Fuck 'em up again, and I was immediately torn to pieces. Grappling is god in this game. Striking is basically a prelude to being dragged to the floor and humped. This is where the scramble begins. It suddenly becomes an intense... I can't say a chess match, it's not really complicated enough. Maybe a checkers match, as you try to avoid getting submitted and get your own submissions in. Strikes are thrown with the face buttons, grapples are initiated by pressing the punch and kick buttons together. Strikers are a huge disadvantage here. Here you want to play as a grappler, like my boy Kazushi Sakuraba. I've pulled enough fights from the brink of defeat using a quick armbar. Presentation wise, nah, that's nothing special. Kinda reminds me of those templates you get on website creation things. You know, like Pixo? Anyone here old enough to remember Pixo? No? Cool. Like the other Pride games, I don't really have much to say about it. It's fairly mediocre. And considering I think it was the better of the two Pride games, I guess that's kind of damning for the other one, isn't it? Which I spent £30 on to get physically. Fuck. I think the big issue with this game is it's designed to be played with the homies like most fighters are, but who the fuck's gonna want to play this when it's just so dull? It infuriates me because Pride was fucking great. It was like a far more interesting, eccentric UFC. So why is this game so fucking boring? Somebody bring Bob Sapp back in, at least that'd make it fun. Yeah, MMA isn't doing too well here. This shit was fucking boring, man. It's so bare bones. Despite the fact it has more modes than just about every other game on this list, they're all so similar that there's nothing really to be gained from trying them. Create a fighter mode is beyond bare bones. Look at this. How am I supposed to create a creature with this shit? The story mode I'm using here looks to be some kind of visual novel. You get to pick a sumo gym to train in, which I immediately do. I'm soon told I will debut in the UFC in 3 years, which makes me go and try a different mode. I am not sitting through these fuck-ass challenges of 3 in-game years. That's stupid. The actual character roster is pretty decent, fair few people to choose from, including an unlockable boss fucking Rutan. But I'm not going to put the time into actually playing this game to unlock him, so I select the sole female combatant and attempt arcade mode with her. She's pretty fucking good. The controls here are the same as Pride and K1. Face buttons to kick and punch, press 2 buttons together to grapple. There is also a tournament mode, which is exactly what you expect, and Champions Road, which looks to be a survival kind of deal. After getting bored for playing 20 minutes of this game, I decided to try UFC Throwdown, the first game on the PS2. And it's the same shit. Slightly better presentation for some reason, but it's basically the same game. Wouldn't recommend, stick to UFC Undisputed 3. That has Pride shit in it. Not in the gay way. I've never really watched sumo. Like, I know who Ganryu is, I know E Honda, I know Yokozuna. I watched a TV show about it. But I'll fully admit, I don't know a fucking thing about sumo. And Yokozuna was Samoan. Anyway, this game is kinda cool, though I have a feeling that it's purely because I've never played anything like it. Game modes are very limited. Going by Google Lens, the most reliable translator, there's like 3 different kinds of training modes. Fuck that, I want to become King Sumo, I ain't gonna fuck about with that shit. I immediately hop into what I think is arcade mode and wow, this game looks pretty fucking good. I enjoy the pageantry they've got going on. They throw soul and the referee does the whole sumo chant. You have to press down on the analog stick to get your sumo into the appropriate starting position. Unfortunately, I'm immediately pounced because I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. The goal here is to either push your opponent out of the ring or throw him to the ground. Use the shoulder buttons to grab hold of the opponent's mawashi, translation manly thong, and then use the R3 to attempt to throw them. While doing this, you have to use the analog sticks to maintain your own balance while throwing the enemy off. It's a cool system, but as a pasty white Englishman, I have no respect for the culture of others, and am immediately unable to figure out the correct strategy. Basically, I got fucked. I am unsure if the idea is to throw both sticks at the same time to throw the opponent, or to move them to specific points for specific throws. I couldn't figure it out. I'll fully admit, sorry lads, I'm no good at this game. I eventually do manage to steal a win by just fucking slapping the shit out of my opponent. I just mashed that shit until he fell out of the ring. I won, yet I was unsatisfied. This wasn't a true win in the art of sumo. In my next fight, I'm immediately trounced for my disrespect, so that's that. I find this game interesting. I'd like to try it out on a 2-player mode. Maybe we can both figure out what we're doing. But I don't think I can really put... It's worth a look over though. This is technically cheating, but Pancrase was a fighting organization in the 90s and, well, I like wrestling. Preferably with big sweaty men, but the occasional bout of brutality is good for the soul, isn't it? Anyway, King Coliseum is the sister series of the never-ending Fire Pro Wrestling series, and its controls are just as hard to get a handle on. The face buttons, bar triangle, act as your weak to strong strikes. Triangle makes you run. I wish it didn't. Hold R1 on one of the face buttons to grab your opponent, and from there you can fucking yeet them in whatever direction you want. The game has specific match types for Vale Tudo and Pancrase rules, where you can attempt to become a grapple master only to be dry humped to death. This roster has the King, Minoru Suzuki, immediately making it the best roster in this video. I live in fear of Suzuki-sama. As a big fan of early 2000s Japanese wrestling, the presentation is godlike to me, to the point that I'm able to overlook the fact that I can't play the fucking game just for the chance to fight in this setting. The edit modes is there. It's not as in-depth as Fire Pro Wrestling, but it's easily one of the better ones in this video. Funnily enough, they went all Pokemon with this game, as there is actually 2 versions. We're currently looking at the Red Disc, featuring mainly New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Japan Pro Wrestling characters, with some smaller promotions mixed in. Green Disc features Noah and Pro Wrestling 1. The sequel, which just kind of chucks everything into one, has a total of 162 playable wrestlers. A fucking insane roster. But unfortunately, a lot of the Pancreas guys were drops, which is why we're not really going into that one. If you're not a wrestling fan, you probably won't get much out of this game, but if you are, holy fuck, this is spectacular! Genuinely one of my favourite wrestling games. Having all these wrestlers in one game is nirvana. As an MMA game, it's definitely not bad. I wish there was more of an indication of how to escape submission moves, or fucking do anything. But that's kind of the name when you play Japanese games. Perhaps become cultured and learn the language, or, you know, searching up on the controls before I actually start playing the game would be a good fucking idea. To be a worthwhile prospect, you blithering idiots. In other news, you can have Samoa Joe fight Kenta Kobashi. Jesus! It brings me a childlike amount of joy that you can just have these two facing off in a actual, without having to create custom wrestlers for it. It's mwah, mwah, fucking beautiful, fucking beautiful. I am literally spitting everywhere as I'm saying that. Fuck. Well, that's that. If I've learned anything, it's that I suck at these fucking games and I deserve to be dragged to the least fun parts of hell. Bariki 1 remains my favourite of all the MMA games I played. K1 was pretty fucking great. King of Colosseum is wrestling, so I cheated. And I think there's going to be after this, I think there's going to be a return to my usual stomping grounds of low-ranked Street Fighter 6. If I'm to come up with any kind of conclusion here, it's simply that modern combat sports games are better. Which is unfortunate because with all the microtransactions in them, it pains me to say it. When trying to accurately simulate a bunch of actual people actually beating the actual shit out of each other, it helps to have better technology, better graphics, and more expansive gameplay, really. I think Shakespeare said it best when he said, sometimes you just gotta play the casual shit. I may take a look at wrestling games in the future. I feel that's a pretty good avenue at some point. And if I've missed any interesting ones, drop a comment and let me know. That's the end of the video. I hope Bob Sapp has a wonderful evening. Shout out to you, sir.